everyone, this is the second part of the video for this week, and we're going to learn about how to score a competition. And what we're going to use is a poule sheet. Now I'll show you what a poule sheet is, but don't worry, I'll also put a copy of this on the Facebook page, so you can always print one off and have a look at it. All the bits of paper here that I'm showing you now, I'll make sure are on the Facebook page as well, and you can have a look at them. Okay, so this is what a poule sheet looks like. Okay, and as you can see, it's quite a jumble of crosses and boxes and numbers and all sorts of things. So we're going to go through it bit by bit, so at the end of this you can understand what it's all about and how, if we were having a competition, you would score the matches. So this is what we use. Okay, so we'll start with the bottom bit, which is this bit here. I'll just fold that over. Okay, now this bottom bit down here, you can see there's number of people in the match. So if you've got 5 people you're fencing, or 6 people, or 7 people, or 8 people, you look at whichever column you used. Now we have 6 people, so we are going to be looking at this numbers here. That one there. Pools of 6. Now if you see, fence number 1, Anne, is in blue. And if you watch the blue dots, you can see when Anne is fencing. So that's when Anne is fencing, there, 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 and there. Now you'll see it moves from left to right. Now this is a bit like in football when you've got your home and away. So this first match, Anne will be on the right hand side of the piece, and then on the left hand side of the piece. Now, if you remember when we got our piece from last time, Anne would be on this side if her number gets called out first, and on this side for our next fight. So that's what these numbers mean. Either you're on the home or the away side, and what order everyone fences in. And if you have a look, Anne fences Ben first. And then there's a couple of fights. So who's that? 4 and 3. Carol and David would fence. And then 6 and 5. Ella and Fraser would fence. And then Anne would be on again. And if you have a look down all these numbers, you'll see that there's a couple of fights, or maybe 1 fight, or maybe 2 fights, and everyone has the same amount of rest, roughly, between each fight. So that's what this is all about. It's all about everyone having a shot on the right hand side and a shot on the left hand side of the piece, and it's about you not having to fence all your matches in one go. You'll have a couple of fights in between to rest. So now we're on to the scoring, okay? And this is where you would do all your keeping of your scores and everything like that. Now Anne can't fence herself, so that's why the 1 is blocked out there. Ben can't fence himself, so the 2 is blocked out there. And Carol can't fence herself, so that's blocked out there. Okay, so when Anne is fencing Ben, she is fencing Ben, who's number 2. So you go along Anne's column to number 2 and fill the score in here. Now Ben is fencing Anne, who's number 1. So in his row, you go along to the number 1 box and fill that box in there. Now, I'm sure you've probably done this at school, but sometimes not all the boxes have numbers that you can record on. Some of the electronic boxes have, and we're very lucky in the club that we've got a box that keeps the score for you. But if you didn't have that, this is what people use, and it's called a 5-bar gate. You might have done this at school. So you count up, in fact I'll show it here. You'll count up 1, 2, 3, 4, and then when it comes to number 5, you draw a line across the middle. Okay, now you'll see that a bit more clearly in the poule sheet that I've already filled out. Okay. So here I've got an example of our already filled out poule sheet. Okay, so as you can see, Anne has got 5 bar gates all the way along the top here, which means she's won all her fights. So she's got 5 victories. Ben has got 3, Carol has got 3, David has got 2, Ella has also got 2, and Fraser didn't get any. Okay, so you fill out these numbers there. Okay, so once you've filled out the number of victories, say you write V for victory and count them up, then you count up the number of hits that people have scored. Now Anne's quite straightforward because she's won 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. And then if you want to count how many hits were against Anne, you go down her column here, which is down this column here. So when Anne was fencing Ben, Ben scored 3 points. When she was fencing Carol, didn't get any points against Anne. David got 4, Ella got 2, and when Anne was fencing Fraser, the score was 5-1 to Anne. So that's Fraser got 1 point against Anne. So you would then add up these numbers, 1, 3, 7, 10, and you write the 10 in there. Okay, so Anne had 5 victories. She scored 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 points, and the people she fenced scored 1, 3, 7, 10 hits against her, and you put that number in there. Take that number away from that number to give you this number here. Now that number there is called your indicator, and your indicator comes important when you've won the same amount of fights. So if we have a look at David and Ella, they both won 2 fights, and if we count up David's score, he scored 4, 9, 11, 15, 20. Ella scored 2, 5, 6, 16. Now when David was fencing, let's count up how many hits against him. So 5, 8, 13, 18, 22, 22. And Ella, when she was fencing, number 5, people fenced her, got 5 hits, 10, 15, 19, 23. And if you take those two figures away from each other, 20 minus 22 is minus 2. 16 from 23 is minus 7. So that means that David with 2 victories had a higher indicator than Ella. Now if you have a look at Ben and Carol, they both had 3 victories. And again, if you count up, Ben scored 3 hits, 8 hits, 11 hits, 16 hits, 21 hits. And when he was fencing other people, Anne scored 5 against him. Carol scored 4, so that's 9. David scored 5 hits, so that's 14, 17, 19. So 19 there. So 21 minus 19 is 2. And if you do the same for Carol, it was 19, 16 and 3. But because Carol's got the higher indicator, she actually is higher placed than Ben. So Anne is first, Carol is second, Ben is third, David is fourth, Ella is fifth, and Fraser is sixth. So that's how you record your matches and your scoring when you've got a competition. I'll do a bit more of an explanation next week about another part of a competition, but that gives you an idea of what we would be doing in our club if we were able to run a competition. So don't worry if you don't follow any of that, because we'll cover it again. It's a bit complicated, but hopefully that gives you an understanding of what a poule sheet and what a poule does. Okay.